Throughout history, governments around the world have carried out covert campaigns to control society, particularly targeting minority groups deemed a threat to national security. One of the most terrifying programs ever implemented was Fruit Machine, a controversial project by the Canadian government in the 20th century, designed to detect and remove homosexual individuals from key positions in government, the military, and law enforcement. Developed in the 1950s during the Cold War, Fruit Machine was not only a discriminatory tool, but also raised serious questions about the extent of state intervention in the private lives of citizens. Was this merely a campaign against the LGBTQ+ community, or was it part of a larger scheme for social control? At the time, Western nations believed that the Soviet Union was using blackmail tactics to recruit spies within the Canadian and US governments. Homosexual individuals were seen as a security risk because society still considered their sexual orientation taboo, making them vulnerable to coercion or manipulation into revealing classified information. This fear was not unique to Canada, it was widespread across the Western world. In the United States, the Lavender Scare, a campaign to purge homosexuals from government positions, ran parallel to the Red Scare, which targeted suspected communists. This created a global wave of paranoia. Canada, being geographically close to the US and a key ally in the fight against the Soviet Union, was not exempt. With support from the CIA and FBI, the Canadian government launched a decades-long campaign to eliminate individuals suspected of being homosexual from critical institutions. But how could they identify who was gay in an era where people were forced to hide their true selves? The answer lay in a device known as Fruit Machine, a machine designed to detect a person's sexual orientation based on physiological responses. Under the leadership of Frank Robert Wake, a psychology professor at Carleton University, a team of scientists developed a method to read a person's sexual desires. The premise of the Fruit Machine was simple yet deeply flawed. Humans cannot hide their physiological reactions when exposed to sexually stimulating images. The experiment worked as follows. Subjects were seated in front of a screen where they were shown provocative images of both men and women in various poses. Meanwhile, sensors attached to their bodies recorded a series of physiological responses, including pupil dilation. If their pupils dilated when looking at images of the same sex, they could be classified as homosexual. Heart rate and sweat levels. Sensors monitored heart rate and perspiration levels to determine sexual arousal. Involuntary microexpressions. Some experiments even tracked facial microexpressions to analyze emotional reactions. Anyone found to exhibit physiological responses to images of the same sex was immediately placed on a watch list. They could be summoned for further investigation, subjected to surveillance, or even coerced into confessing their sexual orientation. In many cases, even if they denied it, the Fruit Machine's results were considered sufficient evidence to terminate their employment. The consequences of this program were devastating. From the 1950s to the 1990s, thousands of individuals working in the government, military, and Royal Canadian Mounted Police lost their jobs, were stripped of their dignity, and became targets of social stigma. Some, unable to cope with the pressure, fell into severe depression or even took their own lives. It wasn't just confirmed LGBTQ+ individuals who suffered. Anyone merely suspected of being gay could be placed under surveillance and punished. This wasn't just a purge. It was a systematic campaign to erase the LGBTQ+ community from positions of power. What's even more shocking is that the Fruit Machine was scientifically unreliable. The machine's methodology was deeply flawed, as sexual arousal can be influenced by numerous factors beyond attraction, such as stress, fear, or even curiosity. Many innocent people were falsely labeled and unjustly removed from their jobs. When the existence of the Fruit Machine was finally exposed, numerous conspiracy theories emerged. Some believe that this was not just a campaign against LGBT individuals, but part of a broader agenda to control information and citizen behavior. Others suspected that the CIA and FBI had used this project as part of Cold War-era psychological research, similar to MKUltra, a mind control experiment. Some even argue that the program was never truly shut down but instead evolved into modern forms of surveillance, such as biometric data analysis and artificial intelligence monitoring. It wasn't until 2017 that the Canadian government formally apologized for this program. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau publicly acknowledged past wrongdoings and pledged support for victims through a 145 million Canadian dollars compensation fund. While this was an important step in recognizing historical injustices, for many, the pain they endured remains irreparable. The psychological scars linger to this day, as many survivors continue to live with memories of humiliation and loss. Today, Fruit Machine stands as a stark reminder of how science can fail in defining human identity and how governments can exploit technology to control their citizens. Whether or not we believe in conspiracy theories, one undeniable truth remains: programs like the Fruit Machine once existed. And the question remains, how many more secrets are still hidden? Can we truly be sure that such programs no longer exist in the modern age? As surveillance technology advances at an unprecedented rate, it is possible that a modern version of the Fruit Machine exists today, only in a far more sophisticated and untraceable form. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support Scaryfill. See you in the next conspiracy theory.